Hey everybody, Carolyn here at the library. Today we are doing a program on easy Thanksgiving sides. These are things you can throw together in no time. You can even do them the day ahead if you want, and it'll be a great addition to your table. It's what I do every year. I love to cook, but I don't like being at the last minute. So we're going to start out with cranberry sauce. Now you can buy it. I happen to like jelly cranberry sauce, but I really like homemade. And I'm going to show you my ingredients down here, and we're going to get cooking. Cranberry sauce. You will need a 12-ounce bag of cranberries. These have been washed and any soft or bad ones picked out. White sugar, brown sugar, some cranberry juice, and a pot. A small pot is fine. You're going to have to fit this, a cup of that, and a cup of this, okay? So it's 1 bag of cranberries, 2/3 of a cup of sugar, 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of cranberry juice in a pot. Easy. Cranberry sauce is one of those things that people love or hate. I think you will really, really like this. It's the simplest thing to do. It looks impressive and it doesn't have the shape of a can. So, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take, this is very, very cranberry. We're going to take a cup of cranberry juice. Cranberry juice cocktail is fine. You don't have to get the 100% stuff. Put that in a pot and turn it on. And we're going to bring that to a boil. So I'm turning it all the way up. You want to take a little longer, turn it down, whatever. This is very, very forgiving. You're going to put 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. Why brown sugar? Because brown food tastes good. Okay, so we're going to take 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. And for those of you who don't know, when you measure brown sugar, you pack it. Okay? What that means is you do like that and push it down. Okay? Why? Because it's like wet sand, and it's going to hold its shape like wet sand when you build a sand castle. So you need to pack it in. This is 1/3 of a cup measure. Crumble it in. And we'll take 1/3 of a cup or 2/3 of a cup of regular sugar. Make it a mess. Take a little bit out of the next one. This is, like I said, very forgiving. If your sugar goes a little overboard, like so, take some out. Now you're going to stir this until all that sugar dissolves. When does it dissolve? When it's clear. Okay, it's going to be cloudy for a little while. You can keep stirring this and keep it on high until it boils. After that, don't stir it, okay? It'll make the sugar crystallize and you'll end up with gritty cranberry sauce. Not good. So I'm just going to stand here and stir. We'll cut out a little bit and then we'll come back when this is boiling. So this is boiling. It only took a few minutes to do. And all we're going to do is just throw these in. Okay, so all of our lovely little cranberries. The thing to remember about cranberry sauce is it never goes quietly. These are going to pop. They will splatter you. It is their nature. They will wait till you're not looking and they will get you. So don't let that happen to you, right? Keep an eye, wear an apron. So these are going to float. Did you know that that's how they know when cranberries are good? They float. So they have to pass a float test. So your cranberries are going to float. Don't worry about it. I compulsively push them in. You can't really get them to go down. Put that. I'm going to turn my heat down to about medium. And we're going to let that go. We're just going to let it go. Bring it back to a boil. And then we're going to let that simmer for 10-15 minutes. After it's simmered, then we're going to pour it into a beautiful bowl and let it set up. It's got a lot of pectin, so it's going to set like jam. And it will be lovely on your table. It's the most gorgeous jewel tone. I can't wait to see it. You can keep it fairly high, about medium, I'd say, medium to medium high, until it comes back to a boil. Once it's boiling, turn it down. Keep it on a slow boil so you see bubbles breaking the surface, but they're not like popping up all the time. They're not boiling. Do that for about 10-15 minutes. Then you're going to take it off, let it cool, pour it into a lovely bowl, and it's going to be the most wonderful jewel tone. It's awesome. So while that's working, Give me a second, I'm gonna go grab my stuff and we'll get started on gravy. Okay, what is better than gravy, right? And so many people tell me, I love gravy, but it always lumps and there's something in the gravy. Okay, it doesn't have to be this way. Seriously, I'm gonna show you how to make gravy. If you have drippings from roasting a turkey or roasting a bird, that's fine. If you don't, you can make it with a boxed stock, as I usually do. Vegetable stock if you need a vegetarian option. It's easy, 3 simple ingredients. You're gonna have perfect lump-free gravy for Thanksgiving. Gravy. Okay, for the gravy, very easy. Butter, flour, chicken stock or pan drippings, and a pot. That's it. Time to make the gravy. Now usually I would make this like right before because it doesn't take long at all. Okay, so if you're timing things, cranberry sauce, day ahead, and I hope you can hear those popping, it's really cool. Cranberry sauce a day ahead, it works fine, put it in the fridge overnight, it's wonderful. You can do the roasted vegetables ahead and just reheat them in the oven. Pumpkin pie, definitely best to do ahead because you gotta refrigerate it, right? Gravy, last minute. First thing we're doing is a stick of butter. Yes, a stick. It didn't say it was good for you, I said it was good. Okay, we're just gonna put that in, turn on our burner, melt it down. Let's see, here it goes. You want a spatula that will scrape, okay, because you don't want this to burn. To that stick of butter, which is a 1/2 cup, by the way, you're going to add a 1/2 cup of flour and 4 cups of broth. And you can make gravy at any time, okay? Equal parts fat and flour, and 8 times the flour in liquid. Vegetable stock, chicken broth, beef broth, drippings, whatever you got. Water, not so much. Milk gravy? Yeah. It's how you make sausage gravy for biscuits, right? You brown your sausage, put your flour in, then thicken up the milk with it. I'm just waiting for this to come on and melt down. Stir this cranberry sauce while I'm at it. They're gonna start to sink as they pop, and that's pretty awesome. And already it's starting to get thick because of the pectin in those cranberries. So we are just about ready to get down to the nitty-gritty here with our gravy. So my butter is melted, and it took a little while on this small burner. It will not take long on your home, okay? You don't want to turn this on full whack on a home burner. I'd say you want to melt it over medium heat. It'll just take longer, but you won't burn the gravy, and this is a good thing. Now, when your butter melts, it will probably foam, okay? Butter is between 10 and 15% water by weight. So as that water comes out, it's gonna bubble up and foam. Wait until it's done foaming. Otherwise, your flour isn't gonna cook properly, okay? It's gonna turn to paste. So, but I have this 1/2 cup of butter. It's foamed out. In goes the flour. Just stir that in. It's not gonna be a paste. It's gonna be a pretty loose roux. It's gonna be about the consistency of heavy cream, I'd say. And we're gonna let that cook, still on medium, until it starts to smell a little bit nutty. That won't take long, okay? But you wanna get that nutty smell, and what that means is the flour has been completely coated by the fat, and it's started to cook, and you won't have that raw flour taste in your gravy, which is kind of gross. But again, you're just waiting for that smell. I wish you could smell these cranberries too, because they are like awesome, and they're starting to thicken up. Again, this is almost a jam that you're making with fresh cranberry sauce. So the thicker it gets, the better it's going to be in my book. This has been going for about 10 minutes. At least 10, probably no longer than 15, and you'll be good. So this flour is boiling now. I can see the bubbles coming up through it, which means it's cooking, which means it's going to start smelling nutty any minute. And yes, I do this at home, trying to get the smell up to me. Now, the high proportion of fat in this is awesome, because what it means is you're going to be less likely to have lumps in your gravy, and it's going to taste good. Fat tastes good. What can I say? Fat equals flavor. Butter equals extra flavor. I'm just going to sit and stir this until I smell nuts. Okay, do you see the color on that? That's yellow right now. The flour also has a little bit of water in it, so you're going to let that cook out. So it's going to foam a little bit too. See, it gets foamy like this. You're going to wait until that foam subsides. It'll just go and deflate. That's when you're going to put your stock in. I'm going to have a whisk. Will that fit in the corner? Yes, it will. A whisk at the ready. The minute you put that stock in, you are going to whisk like there's no tomorrow. So as this cooks, and I wish you could see this, maybe I could do it this way. You see how you can see the line there? You're going to pull it through and it's going to go, okay, that's when it's getting ready. When it leaves a line for about a half a second to a second, you can see the bottom of the pot before it comes back together. This is good. This is the moment of truth. Once you add this to this, you have passed the point of no return. Okay? Start whisking before you add, and keep whisking. Squeeze it in. Add it as quick as you can. Okay? Otherwise, it's going to turn to wallpaper paste. Done. See, that wasn't so hard. Make sure you get in the corners. And that's it. And now you're just going to gently stir with your whisk. Now, the thing about starch thickened sauces, and that's what a gravy is, it's starch thickened sauce. You can thicken it with flour or cornstarch or tapioca or anything. You don't know how thick it's going to get until it boils. That's when the protein cooks. That's when it reaches the point of no return. That it's like, yes, now we're going to bind up. Okay, so those proteins are like a net, and right now they're just kind of free floating, and all of a sudden they'll do that and block, and that's what makes thickening. So I'm just going to keep whisking. You can switch back to your spoon at this point, especially if you want to scrape down that bottom. And you want to make sure that nothing sticks to that bottom, okay? Your flour will want to sink at this point, and you want to keep it suspended. That's the name of the game. So while I've been doing my gravy, my cranberries are awesome. They're done. They've been going for about 12, 13 minutes or so. I do it by eye. This is the consistency of like stew, maybe. So it's like a jam if you make jam. I know I keep saying that, but it's the truth. So you just put it into a heat-proof bowl, no plastic, please. This is gonna melt it because it is culinary napalm. This is boiling sugar, okay? You don't wanna mess with this. But look at the color on that. That is awesome. This is your homemade cranberry sauce. The longer this sits, the more jellied it's gonna get, okay? So you'll wanna let this sit for at least 20 minutes to gel up, cool down. You can do it overnight, put it in the fridge, it's awesome. Bring it out for your table. Homemade cranberry sauce, again, really great. So here you can see we have come to a boil with our gravy, right? So I'm gonna turn my heat down a little bit, and just to make sure that I have every little bit of starch doing its job, I'm gonna let it boil. Just gently stir it down for a minute or two. That's how all of that flour there is gonna like soak up as much water as it can. Okay, it's just gonna turn into a very, very thin paste, which we call sauce. Yeah. That's looking pretty good. Again, You kind of tell it's a gravy consistency looking at it, right? If you move your spoon through it. And keep in mind also, as this cools, it's going to thicken. The longer that starch sits in the liquid, the better it's going to get. Okay. So again, we've boiled. Now we're just going to simmer. This is called simmering. When you just barely see the bubbles breaking the surface, we're going to do that for a few minutes. Our next dish is going to be roasted winter vegetables. Now, this is something that's unusual if you don't want to do the whole sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows and stuff, you know. This is going to be beets and parsnips and sweet potatoes and like roasty vegetables and onions and garlic and nice and brown. It's really hearty. This is great for winter lunches too, incidentally. So we're gonna get working on that. We're gonna just dice up some stuff, put it in the oven, and it turns into a great side dish. You're gonna love it Thanksgiving. Roasted winter vegetables. Now, this isn't so much an ingredient list as what I happen to have in the fridge. So you have some beets, and you really wanna do this with beets, they're awesome. Some sweet potato here, there's a half a parsnip that happened to be in my fridge, a small apple, a red onion, some garlic. These are all going to go together on a baking tray with pepper, with salt, olive oil. I'm just going to remove this parsnip, the bad ends. This is a little dried out on the end, so I'm just going to get that off of there. Now, parsnips are like sweet carrots. And unlike carrots, the fatter the better with a parsnip because they get really, really sweet in the oven. So don't be fooled into buying a baby parsnip. They're not as good. And all I'm going to do is split this, keeping my fingers out of the way. Split it again. And we want bite-sized pieces, which for this, for example, they're going to be a little longer, right? Because they're smaller. I'm just throwing them on a tray there. Bite size for you, whatever that constitutes, it's okay. Everything is rustic, everything is beautiful. I don't really do posh, pretty food. I'm really good at rustic. They don't all have to be the same size, they don't all have to be the same shape, and as a matter of fact, it's probably preferable that they aren't. So there. I also have these sweet potatoes that I have, these beets that I've got, garlic. Just lean on it. It'll give up the goods. If you love garlic, use more. If you don't like garlic, don't use it at all. It's okay. This is one of those dishes that you really can't go wrong. And I just throw the cloves in their paper and everything, because what will happen is it'll roast up nice and sweet, and then people will just squeeze it right out of the paper when they want to eat it. And it's awesome. So I like garlic, so I'm putting lots and lots of garlic. I'm putting this whole head in. Another thing about it is, you know, if somebody in your table doesn't like beets, and I can't imagine why they wouldn't, they don't have to eat them. They can pick them out. It's okay. So, parsnips, garlic, beets, sweet potatoes, done. Onion. Now, the onion, this is your root end of the onion. This is a root end, okay? Leave it alone. It's gonna hold the whole thing together. So, chop off this part here. Have it, and you see how that holds things together? That's what you want. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with like slivers of onion. You don't want slivers of onion, you want nice thick pieces of onion. And for a dish this size, I think I'll cut them into sixths and halves, so you get 12 pieces here. Or in our case, 6, because it's a small tray. And I have others that I have done before. And also, with vegetables like this, I like to put an apple in. Unconventional, yes, but I like the flavor of it. And again, this is just your standard garden variety apple. I don't even remember what variety this is. But we're gonna put it in there because apple and onion are like great together. Coring. Okay, people tell you to core this stuff and you have to get a corer. Yeah, no. Just cut the corner like that. Make sure you got everything. And it goes in the tray. See, posh, pretty, not my style. And it's very easy to do. It looks fabulous when it comes out, you'll see. And here you have your miniature vegetables, okay? All on their little tray. You just mix them up, it's okay. Whatever they want to do is fine. Just, you know, this is fine, everything's fine. Now I just take a little salt. You can go wild, by the way. Any seasoning you want to put on these is great. Paprika is lovely on these. Garlic, if you didn't have garlic in there, I just, you know, put a little salt. You may say, oh, that looks like a lot of salt. It's a lot of vegetables. So, a little salt, a little pepper, and olive oil. We just want to coat that. The best tools you have in your kitchen. Impeccably clean hands. They are good for lots of things. They say if humans' hands were rated and insured at the same rate as machinery in factories, it'd be astronomical. Okay? You just want to make sure everything's kind of coated in that oil so it doesn't stick. And that oil also is going to help the heat get into the vegetables. So, we're going to take this, we're going to throw it. I have a little oven over here. We're going to throw this in the oven, 400 degrees, 30 minutes. We're going to look at them and see if they're browning. If they're browning, we'll turn them over. If they're not, put them in for another 10. You really can't fail with this. Just keep an eye on it. And finally, the piece de resistance, the pumpkin pie. What is Thanksgiving without a pumpkin pie? I'm going to show you how to make a pie crust that never fails. It's easy. You'll need a scale. If you don't have a scale, get a scale. Pie crust, pumpkin pie filling, easy as pie. Pumpkin pie. Now this looks complicated, but it's not. Here we go. Flour, butter, water for your pie crust. And for the filling, canned pumpkin, canned milk, sugar, 2 eggs, a teaspoon or 2 of pumpkin pie spice, depending how spicy you like it, and a little bit of salt. You'll need a pie plate and a teaspoon measure. Unusual thing I find about pumpkin pie is how hard it was to learn how to make a pie crust. Pie crust is actually easy. So you do everything by weight, and I highly recommend you get yourself a little kitchen scale. It doesn't have to be fancy, just get one. The formula for pie crust is 1 part water, 2 parts butter, 3 parts flour. That's it. Maybe a little salt if you like it. You can throw a little sugar in it, but 1, 2, 3. That's it. Easy enough. You do need a scale. So I have my scale set to ounces. There are 4 ounces in a stick of butter. Pints pound rolled around, 16 ounces in a pound, 4 ounces in a stick. Okay? Which means you will need 4 ounces of butter, 6 ounces of flour, and 2 ounces of very cold water. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my 6 ounces of flour. And I just put my bowl here on the scale and then tear it to 0. Press the 0 button. Oh, that was right. To that cold butter. Why cold? Because you want this butter to laminate, okay? And what you're going to do is make sure that all of these little particles of butter get coated with flour. Okay? This is what's going to make a nice pie crust. And now you rub in. Now, rubbing in, some people cut in. You take a fork and you cut it. What I'm doing is this. Okay? Just this motion with the butter. All in the flour. And what this is doing is combining this butter with the flour so that you get nice little small pieces of butter coated with flour. But you don't want it to be a paste. You want little itty bitty bits of butter, okay? It should be kind of like breadcrumbs. Maybe coarse breadcrumbs. Once you do that, then what's going to happen is you're going to get a flaky pie crust because butter, as I said before, is part water. So as it melts, that water turns to steam and it goes and it like blows apart layers of flour. And that's what makes the flakes in a pie crust. So you're just going to rub that flour in like so. See, it's kind of crumbly, mealy, meh. That's good. Up to about the size of a pea. You can leave butter in up to about the size of a pea. Dump in all your water. Don't worry about it. Just do it. People will tell you, oh my God, it's too much water. No, it's not. Some people use a spray bottle to add water. Follow the recipe, follow the formula. You're done. And that's it. That's pie crust. See, isn't that simple? Now, key to this, to chill. You know, the secret to pie crust is chilling. We're gonna put this in plastic wrap so it stays hydrated. We're gonna let all that flour soak up all the water we put in there and all the fat, get in between those soaked up flour grains. And then after about 30 minutes in the fridge, we will roll out. Easy, easy, easy. Easy as pie, except for the part about doing plastic. We are out of the fridge. And I have put this between plastic wrap. I wouldn't normally do this at home, but we are at the library and I'm not going to mess up one of our lovely tables. So, a lot of people do swear by doing this, by the way, so it's not like that weird. I'm just going to roll this very carefully between my plastic so that it stretches, but it doesn't tear, okay? The idea is, and again, there are people who are going to tell you that I am all wet doing it this way. Some people say you just turn your dough like so. You know, keep turning your dough, keep turning your... You know, I think as long as you're going in up, down, left, right, northwest, southeast, northeast, southwest, okay? Then you'll end up with something vaguely round, which is where we're headed. Okay, so again, up, down. You can go by your quarter turns this way. You can roll this warm, but I wouldn't recommend it. Probably won't turn out well for you. That's a mistake a lot of people make. Is they try to roll out pie crust before it's been chilled properly. And I am a big fan, by the way, of doing a lot of things between plastic wrap just to save time, effort, cleaning, because I'm lazy. I can get really lazy. Can't we all? And at the holidays, who needs more work, right? Just, I want to sit and relax and drink eggnog and eat until I explode. I don't want to deal with too much going on in my life. I've got enough problems. Okay. That should be about right, I think. Let's get our, pardon me while I leave you, to get my pie plate. Yep, that's about right. Maybe a little more, a little larger. Now this is also going to make lining the pie plate a lot nicer, okay? Because one of the things they tell you is, you know, oh, roll it up over your rolling, yeah, no. If you do it between plastic, it's easy. If I didn't have it on plastic already, I would roll it, I would fold it in quarters. I'd flour the top, fold it in quarters. Now this light has made my edges a little bit soft there, but that's okay. We're gonna chill this again. So let's just get this off. Slide to the edge. Hey presto, got it in the pan. Now I'm just, for safety's sake, gonna leave the plastic on it, and I'm gonna go chill it again. It's amazing how fast that butter melts. You've got a light on it. So, okay. Go. What I'm doing now, I'm just making sure there are no air bubbles underneath. I wanna make sure that's right down in your corners, okay? Go. Now you can see if you can see this little white right there. That's butter. And that's okay. That's gonna make it flaky. That's what you want. Okay? Back in the fridge. All right, crust is chilled, and actually I'll tell you a funny story. It was so warm in here that I took it outside to chill, and it froze. In like 10 minutes, it froze. So we have our crust now is ready to crimp. So we're gonna make our filling. And to do that, you need 2 eggs, chicken eggs. If you use duck eggs, they're bigger, so be aware. If you get shell in like that, don't worry, take it out. Always use 2 fingers to do that, by the way. It's easier. Otherwise you'll chase it around the bowl. Try and be a little bit nicer about this one. You're going to beat those just until they're completely liquid and you don't have like gel and yolk, and you want them all the same consistency, right? To that, we're going to add 1 thing of pumpkin, can of pumpkin. Do not get pumpkin pie filling. Pumpkin puree. 100% pure pumpkin of a brand I will not name. All of it, get every last bit of goodness into your bowl. Evaporated milk, not Eagle brand, not sweetened condensed. This is regular evaporated milk. Full fat is best because fat equals flavor. Cream or milk will not work here. You have to use canned milk. All right, it's one of the few places where this is the only thing that'll do. So evaporated milk, 1 can. In it goes. Just squidge it in with your whisk a little bit until it gets to where you can mix it without it going all over the place. And you're just going to keep whisking this until it's smooth. Okay, it's all one consistency and there are no lumps and no white spots. And everything is nice and mixed. See how quickly that comes together? No problem there. 3/4 cup of sugar. Whisk it in. Half a teaspoon of salt. Salt in this case is not enough to worry with it tasting salty, but salt makes other things taste more like themselves. Salt heightens your taste buds so they taste everything just a little bit more. So when I was put on a low salt diet for a while, boy was that hard, because none of my food tasted right. It was great for like making me not have an appetite. Now the recipe calls for 1 3/4 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. This is a mix. I make my own. You can buy it in a mix. The commercial product is great. Don't worry about having to make your own. I, on the other hand, like more. So, 2 healthy teaspoons full. If you like spicy, if you like cinnamon and clove and nutmeg and allspice, yeah, put more in. It's not gonna hurt a thing. If you don't like a lot of spice, I have a friend who's allergic to cinnamon. You don't have to use it. You can use allspice and nutmeg and clove and leave the cinnamon out. It's completely up to you, but you want about 2 teaspoonfuls of warming spices, right? Cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, allspice, ginger, those kinds of things. Any proportion is fine, but I like the pumpkin pie spice traditional blend. And would you believe that is it? That's pumpkin pie filling. Very easy to mix up. Now, the crust has thawed. I know, that's an odd thing to say when I was telling you it was so hot. The crust is thawed. So let's talk about crimping. Pie crust can be crimped in any number of ways. A very Midwestern thing to do is to trim all of this excess off the edge here and just use a fork, just to crimp it around. That is a perfectly viable crimp. You don't have to get fancy. I like a folded crimp, so I take this and I fold it under, like so, and I might tear off little bits. You really should trim this till it's about ½ an inch from the edge, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And you fold it under, and I'll show you why in a second. You want a little dam up against the pie plate here, right? And it's a paste, so don't worry if it doesn't fold perfectly. Just press it. It's okay. Not a lot of things in this life need perfection. Pie is certainly not one of them. Pies are, I think, better when they're not perfect. It means you've homemade it. Now you see this little bit here that doesn't have any to go under? We'll use that little bit there. It's kind of like a hair extension for pie. And as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, what I'm going to do next, let's see this. I'm going to take my hand up against here, and I'm going to push with my finger all along that. Why? To make that crust just stand up, right? Just make it stand up a little bit and kind of get it to a uniform height, but you want it to stand up. Why? So you can crimp it. Crimp is the key. A little bit thick, just squeeze that a little. And the crimp will be the key. Now, a very traditional crimp that I usually use is called a scallop crimp. What I'm going to be doing is this, and that's all there is to it. And it looks nice and fancy, and it looks homey, like so. Scallop crimp like that, okay? And you're going to put your thumb in the last indentation and press in, like that, see? Very quick. Very easy, all the way around. And you always have the last crimp to guide you where you're going next. And there is your scallop crimp. Back into the fridge. Out of the fridge, nice and firm. So now we're just going to put this into this. That's it. That's all there is to it. So in we go. Just going to stir it up a little since May is settled. In it goes. Now be careful. If it's a little too much, and it might be, don't force it. This is perfect. Sometimes, for some reason, your crust just won't want to take all of it. Never force it. Okay, it will come back to bite you. This is perfect. This is going to puff up a little bit in the oven. Not much. Not like a lot of egg-based pies. You're going to put this in your oven, 425. So while you are chilling your dough, set your oven to 425. Put it on the lowest rack of your oven at 425 for 15 minutes, and that will get rid of the beloved soggy bottom. Okay, have you ever cut into a pie crust and the bottom is just kind of paste? That will crisp up the bottom. At the end of 15 minutes, move it to the middle rack, turn it down to 350, cook it for another 40, and then stick a knife in the center. And if it comes out clean, it's ready. Cool for at least 2 hours until it's room temperature. Store it in the fridge. You can reheat it the next day. It'll be fine. You should have a nice golden brown crust, no soggy bottom, and a beautifully set custard. And here we have our 4 easy Thanksgiving sides. The lovely cranberry sauce, perfect lump-free gravy, roasted winter vegetables, and of course, pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. Thanks to everybody for joining us here at your library. Remember, tasty, nutritious, adequate food is not just the province of the rich, it is your right. And it starts here. It starts in our town, in our homes, and in our kitchens. Carolyn from the library, have a great day.